Okay, right. Today's bit sort of free form. To be frank, first of all, because I've been actually really preoccupied with getting something launched, but also I thought it might be quite fun to do a bit of a free format this evening and just get an update for everyone. So I thought it might be a bit of fun to share a bit what I've been focusing on over the last week, because I think some of you guys might get some inspiration from it as well. But why don't we do a bit of a round robin very quickly and just get a bit of an update from perhaps something just one thing you've achieved, say, over the last week, which perhaps you're quite proud of, which would be really nice to do. If we do a bit of a round robin on that, that might be quite good. So Raymond, can we start with you, if that's all right?
Wow, what a person to start with. Well, actually, I suppose it's what I'm about to do at 9 o'clock this evening. I have a client in Japan. So
that's one you've been working on for a while, isn't it?
No. Well, it's through one of my existing clients. So
right.
yes. So yes, my knowledge and my experience of working in Japan and with Japanese companies has come in handy at last after 20 years.
Oh, well done. Wow, so that's a real achievement, isn't it? So
yes, but you try telling that to the family, and I'm going down. I'll be back about 11 o'clock tonight, if that's all right.
Yeah, time differences. Can they speak English pretty okay?
Yeah, and I'm used to doing either the late nights or the very early mornings that try and match it up, whichever, or late nights and early mornings usually.
Right. Yeah, good. Well, congrats on that. That's great. James, how about you? A particular achievement which you're very proud of that you achieved over the last week?
I can't say anything particularly I'm proud of, but I am working on a proposal for tomorrow, which with a business in Saudi Arabia, which I have high hopes for.
Nice. Is that one you've been working on for a long time?
For a few weeks, yeah.
Yeah, good. Well, good luck with that one. So, is it mainly just down to yourself, or do you believe you're in competition with a few others?
I think I'll know more tomorrow, actually, what the state of play is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so a bit nerve-wracking. Yeah, good luck with that one. Valerie, do you want to share? Have you got something to share?
Oh, well, it's not as exciting as Saudi Arabia and all these other places. But I think
I'm sure everything in your life is exciting now. Why not share?
Well, why not, Rupert? Look how long I've known you. No, my sister and I talking about, because my nephew became a father last month, so it's taken a lot of time. So she's a grandmother now.
Oh, right, nice.
Yeah, so a new baby in the family. But also she's looking for more suppliers for different flavors for the organic juices that she's doing. So we may do a trip to the Caribbean. Excited to do that.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that'd be fantastic. And which islands in the Caribbean?
Actually, I said to her it'd be good to go to Grenada, the spice island. Yeah, it has some very unusual spices there, because I've got a school friend that lives there now with her husband, but we'll see.
It sounds like a very nice trip to me. It's very ambitious. Well done.
Does it kick Saudi Arabia and other places?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of like home, because my mum's been living in the Caribbean for 30 years. So if we do go there to Barbados, then onto somewhere else, then it will be partly work as well as
a bit of nice Caribbean home cooking as well, which
definitely
very good. Renata, I know you've probably got a list of 2 or 3 things you've done over the last week, if not probably 10. But if you think of the best one you focused on over the last week, what's been your biggest achievement, would you say, over the last week?
Yeah, that's easy, Rupert. The nicest thing of all is, as board member for Commercis, a communications company, all the people of the company, when I go into the offices, like to find a moment to come over and share their thoughts and what's happening. So I've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And then yesterday at 4 o'clock, finding the right moment to sit down with the owner of the company, Alan, and in the best way present to him what's really going on, what he needs to do to have the company shipshape for the future, but know how to put it to him in the right way, so he bought into it and started to make the necessary changes today.
Right, nice. Yeah, good. So that's a big achievement in itself, isn't it? I know a lot of what you do tends to be very complex as well, Renato. So
yes, and then second to that, making sure that around the middle of next month, being at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, to catch up with a lot of industry friends, but also my Latvian friend I studied medicine with, who lives there, and a 9-year-old son that I'm godfather to.
Nice. No, very good. Well done, Renato. That sounds great. Yeah, so, and Dave, well, obviously, I know your mentoring and coaching part is really going on from strength to strength, isn't it, in the motor trade? But tell us what you're particularly proud of this week. That's a big achievement that you may have pulled.
Well, this week is a continuation of this year in terms of I've not touched a drop of alcohol all year. and I feel better for it. Not that I drank a lot before, but that's one. The other one is developing a couple of things that have been going on for a little while. One internet-based, which I won't really go into now. The other one is more along the lines of the multi-trade and the coaching and the training around events. Working on something there with a friend of mine, colleagues, there's two of us, which should be rolled out possibly around about August, September, both here and in Southern Ireland, primarily. So that's all, them are all coming to fruition. And then lastly, although Valerie doesn't know it, I'll be carrying her bikes to Grenada with her. She doesn't know yet. Anyway.
Just need a nice big suitcase, Valerie, or two. Or
I'll
three.
squeeze that in somehow. Yeah, that'd be lovely. What a beautiful place to go.
Yeah, I think we're all very envious of that one. So no, but I mean, I think things have been going from strength to strength for you, really, haven't they, David? Because I think you were working very much in association with some others, and things have really taken a new leaf for you, haven't they, over the last 6 months or so? Would that be fair?
To focus on this, possibly what we all are here is something that's I can do just with my control and isn't sort of linear. You know, I can be, and that's still a long way to go yet at the current progress rate because of the time I can allocate to it. But if I could just literally have a month full on with it, it would move along so quickly. So that's I'll talk to you about that at some other time, but it's a little bit too detailed to go into now.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Nice to catch up. Yeah, no, thanks, David. It's wonderful. Yeah, so well, I think in terms of myself, actually, got some of you guys to thank for last week, because you may remember I came up with this rather wacky idea, which proceeded to get shot down very gently, of course, but in flames. And I realised I think Eric summed it up along with a bit of a joke with Valerie at the end of the evening. I think I realised actually I'd got it a bit wrong. But needless to say, actually I was very pleased for that feedback last week because, and also Renata, you chipped in as well, didn't you? Feedback last week because actually it was much easier to deal with at that stage because nothing had actually been spoken about publicly or launched. So I went back to the drawing board a little bit, and I've been pleased to say it actually did me a big favour. So and several things have sort of come about really, which has been quite interesting because been returning to some of the old things that would still work as well. You know, like in these days we get used to meetings all being on Zoom. Well, in reality, the face-to-face meetings still very much work today. And one of the things that I was considering was joining BNI, which I'm sure a number of you are very familiar with. And that was quite an education in itself, actually, because for all sorts of reasons, positively, but also I realised some of the challenges with BNI as well. But it gave me also some further insights because that led to a series of one-to-ones. And so it gave me an opportunity to discuss some of my ideas, but also for them to also share a few things. And what I was also very surprised about was some of the feedback and the way that technology is having a very big impact already in businesses which we perhaps all thought may be impacted over the next couple of years. And really, it's already having a big impact now. So, so just from a personal point of view, obviously this is our first cut at the website, but I've actually managed to get the branding sorted out this week. So I've actually decided to build on my own personal name. So I've called it Hollywood Growth Solutions, and it's very much about helping people to service more clients by being able to outsource quite a bit of their admin support. So effectively what they're able to do is to reclaim their time. And a sub-brand for that, and Renata and Raymond, you'll laugh at this, I know, is actually Time Machine, because what we do is we help people to give them their time back. And in fact, I've actually got some quite interesting concepts for a logo design, which actually is in the process of being finished off at the moment, which will appear on our website in the next few days. So I managed to also get the website done, admittedly using ChatGTP quite a bit because it sped the whole process up, and also managed to update my LinkedIn profile and Facebook page. So so I managed to get all that live in the last few days. So I've been very pleased with that. And I might share a little bit of that with you in a bit. But I think the other thing I want to just highlight was as well is just to go back onto a little bit, is around this whole ChatGTP thing, because, for example, there's one particular firm, obviously I won't mention their name because it was said to me in confidence, but they run a marketing agency. And what that person said to me was that basically they reckoned within 4 or 5 years there isn't going to be a need for a business like them anymore. And what they were hoping to do was to ultimately be able to sell their business for a decent multiple. And of course, what's been happening just recently with some recent announcements and recent advancements, effectively, it's rendered the business almost valueless, because the moment she walks away from it, it's got no value. She's the one that adds the value to it. So now that's being a little bit dramatic, but she obviously has seen the writing on the wall with the advancement of new technology. And I think there's going to be a whole host of areas which are going to be negatively impacted, but also if people were able to refocus and redirect, where it actually creates new world of opportunities as well. But I think it really is a case as well of us actually embracing the technology that's available to us, so we can accelerate what we're doing, and perhaps also help our clients to do more in less time. And it may indeed help us to either service more clients, so therefore make a better return for ourselves, but also clients can get better value for money at the same time. So I just want to provoke that seed of thought, I guess. And actually, I was going to ask each one of you, if you don't mind, if say, Raymond, sorry to pick on you first again, but what would you say is your challenge as far as ChatGTP is concerned, and where do you see the opportunity lying with the changes in your business, which are going to probably ensue over the next year, 2 years? So first of all, understanding whether you've identified any areas which you might be a little bit exposed on, but also how have you perhaps been able to, how are you considering repositioning your business to take advantage of some of the newer technologies?
Well, I think the thing for regarding ChatGPT or any of the similar things, I think, yes, I've dabbled, I've used, I've kind of befriended, I suppose, in some ways. And I think the thing for me is how to actually utilize the technology effectively rather than just use the technology, because sticking a question into ChatGPT or asking it to give you some information is one thing. To actually be skilled and understand how to use it and the questions to ask and how to get the information out that we want, I think that's the challenge for me going forward. And I think that's the opportunity for those. That's the opportunity for those who understand it, is how to actually interrogate, ask questions, build. I was going to speak like an accountant, and I was about to say data cubes and all those sort of things. Actually, be able to how you utilize the technology rather than, and I mean really utilize it rather than just use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you sort of summed up really well, haven't you? Because the how much you get out of ChatGPT is really down to the questions and the interrogation that you ask of it. Just a quick show of hands, Renato. I know you've got Copilot, haven't you? I believe. Is everyone using? First of all, has everyone on this call used ChatGTP? Is there anyone not used it? Sorry, you've not used it. Okay. Thanks, Dave.
I've not.
No, you've not used it. Yeah.
No.
Valerie, have you used it?
Only with the help of my nephew. I leave it to
Right.
them. Yeah,
Okay.
and he said he's going to teach me a bit more about it. Yeah, I've seen how it works. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And James, how about you? You're muted, James.
Sorry, I dabble with it and use it to do some sort of research, and it is quite good at thought-provoking ideas, and you can take the idea and then tweak it a bit. So I think it is, for us, it's been reasonably interesting. I'm also interested to try Grok 3, which actually is as good, maybe better potentially.
Is that right? Yeah. So I think ChatGTP 5 is supposed to be coming out in the next 2 or 3 months, I believe, as well. Interesting. Renato, I think you use ChatGTP quite extensively, don't you?
Yes, I do. But you recall with the government agencies I deal with, the majority concern is, as I mentioned before, read the small print, because you need to be very wary, of course, that the data you're putting in there to ask it to guide you, often it thinks becomes its own data. So you could be giving away your market's secrets and ideas that become it's common knowledge to use for others. So many of the agencies I deal with said they'd use it for a number of months in the public domain, then they cut off the public side and they continue to develop it internally with their own information.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think it's interesting because Apple, I don't know how successful they've been at this, haven't they? They've created their own, well, they call it Apple Intelligence, but they've tried to create a bit of a walled garden effect with it. I'm not sure how good it is at doing it, but I think also there is this issue, isn't there, with how much is actually shared in public domain. So it might be interesting. Has anyone got an Android phone on this call? Yeah, because Samsung and I don't know what are those guys doing on Android devices. Obviously, I think some of the new models have got ChatGTP enabled in it, haven't they? But have they got anything there about helping you to protect your data, your privacy with ChatGTP, for example?
I have a relatively new folder, and I haven't noticed any ChatGTP on it. And I disabled the annoying Samsung, Siri type thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because Siri, for some reason, still to me a bit dumb actually when you compare it to what's. Yeah, although you can ask Siri to interrogate ChatGTP for its responses, so which is an interesting one. But by the way, ChatGTP is very easy to get on your phone. By the way, on most phones, whether you've got Android or iPhone, you can actually just install it directly to your handset by default, unless you've already got say a Microsoft account, for example. You'll get ChatGTP 3.5, I think, but it may be with the handsets you've got, you might be being provisioned with a more advanced 4.0 version of ChatGTP. I'm not sure. Okay, I thought it was interesting just to ask that question because, yeah, I mean, if I was to, I think for me, what I found with ChatGPT has been particularly useful for classes sort of deep research. So you may go in and ask it some questions to start with, then you'll actually ask some much more detailed questions based around what you've already covered and keep on digging deep. And it's actually really surprising amount of valuable information you get back. And also, for example, helping you to define markets and even write perhaps content or blog posts. Now, in reality, a lot of the time you'd want to put your own personal twist on the content, or you might want it to write the content in a more of a you or yours context, or very highly optimized for, SEO, for example. But actually, if you ask ChatGTP to do that for you, it can come up with the original content, which can be relatively generic. But if you say, right, can you rewrite this content now so it's heavily SEO optimized based on using the right keywords, it will actually do its best to come up with another version, literally within 10 or 15 seconds, which you can just use. So, in fact, what I might do actually, if would everyone like me to just give you a very brief insight of what I've done with the website I've created? Because literally this website's been created in 3 or 4 days, and that's not perfect. So if I was a web designer, they'd do a much better job. But would you guys be interested just to see? A lot of this has been done with the aid of ChatGTP. So, so would everyone be interested in seeing that?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So just bear with me a second, and I try and bring that up.
Yes. Yes. And what I'll do, Rupert, is when I have time sometime tomorrow, I'll try typing certain words into ChatGPT and see if any bits of your website are offered to me. I'll do that test.
Well, that'd be an interesting one. It'd be interesting to see what feedback I get back on that. I've lost the video stream. Then a second, let's try and find you all again.
You just need to type in, Renato, who is Rupert Honeywood?
Yes. And I did that last week, ironically, and there is a certain website that is waiting to see you again, Rupert. I'll tell you separately which one that is. I think you can imagine.
I'm not sure if this is good or not, but anyway, we'll soon. Right.
Well, the past is waiting to be reunited with you.
Yeah. I think you can see that, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what I'm going to just figure out, because I'm more used to using Zoom than this. Hang on a second. Can you still see the website? You think you can, can't you? But
Yep.
on my side, I can't figure out how to control it. So just bear me a second, because I seem to have lost the. You can still see it, can't you? Yeah. Okay. So this is this homepage, and this is a temporary logo that's been created at the moment because I'm waiting for it to come back from the graphic designer. So basically, this copy, albeit I've changed quite a bit, has largely been generated with the help of ChatGTP. And this time machine was actually created again by ChatGTP. Now, it doesn't got a few bits right. It's got some of the wording a bit wrong, but I think amazingly it came up with that more as first time round. So if you scroll down there, so all this copy was predominantly written with ChatGTP with a bit of fine tuning from myself. And if I was to go to if I was to go to our services, go here, basically I asked it to come up with 50 markets which it felt our service would be useful for. Initially I asked it for 10, then I looked at the content, I thought actually that's pretty good. And then I asked it to actually work out, based on each sector, come up with 10 areas where I could help them and provide a service. So if I clicked on PR and communications, it's come up with here with the service provision on each one. So influence, outreach, and partnerships, come up with all these areas which I could help them based on the service I've already told them that I want to offer. All this copy here for each one has been largely written with the help of ChatGTP. So I'm just skipping around now. But can you see the power of this? A lot of this was actually generated surprisingly quickly. So there's actually about 50 different business types or different business activities here. And then what I've also asked it to do is then recreate the content so it was suitable for like who we serve and present it differently. And obviously I've had to put all this information into the website tool which I'm using to do it, but it's then recreated it in a form based on different vertical markets. So basically, so the nice thing is, in reality, if, for example, you had to go to do like a 20-second pitch to someone, and you happened to be speaking to an HR recruitment agency, for example, HR agency, you could say, well, straight away we could help with your candidate sourcing, CV screening, interview scheduling, and all those tasks, if that makes sense. So if we went then a bit further onto there, now this actually wasn't generated by ChatGPT, but you'll recognize some of these, Renato, particularly, because this is actually some of the original content from I did several years ago. And then the about section, actually on this, I did rewrite this from scratch myself. So it's based on what the business does. So I wanted just to give you a feel for that. And also with ChatGTP, if you were to look at this content here, with ChatGTP, one of the really important things is once you've trained ChatGTP on your business and your business opportunity, if you start digging in really deep and keep it in the same conversation thread, it's basically, it learns more and more about your business and is able to give you more and more valuable information back. So if you were to look at this, all the depth of this, all the research has gone into it. It even came up with different variations of a logo there. So it's come up with all this. But if you want to change onto a different topic or altogether, what's really important is to create a new chat. Don't just use the existing one, because otherwise it gets confused. It thinks you're interrogating it based on, actually, I'm sorry, realized you can't see what I'm looking at the moment. My apologies. So I've gone onto the ChatGTP window and of course you weren't seeing it. But I think you get the main point. Let me just try and come back to you guys again. So I need to stop sharing. Here we go.
And just as you do that, Rupert, it's very, very interesting. I find with the Microsoft version of the same, but version 4, that it tells you at the bottom of the screen the references it's used to put that information together.
Yeah.
So I often find it really useful to go direct to those references as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think with the version I'm using, which is 4.0, it's not 4.0, it's 4.0, very confusingly. You actually just have to say, can you specify the web address, or you get like a little graphic icon, you click on the icon that you get. Yeah, so, but has that given a little bit of an insight in terms of some of the potential uses for this and how it could help you to help clients, first of all, help you and your business do things much more quickly and potentially at lower costs, so rather than necessarily having to bring in a copywriter, you can actually do quite a bit yourself, for example. I'm not suggesting you do that because obviously I don't want to take work away from anyone else particularly, but can you see how you can apply that to your own business, but also in terms of perhaps servicing and helping other clients by actually becoming much more knowledgeable in that space? That's going to obviously make your skills more and more, make them even more relevant to what's actually coming up. So, but yeah, I don't want to provoke any thoughts. Dave, obviously I appreciate it's a bit new to yourself there, but has it sort of given you a few ideas? Because obviously you've got a real expert in the motor trade, aren't you? So I'm just wondering how that would affect the motor trade in particular. It's probably a little bit different in that space. So you're thinking about the one, David? Are you muted at the moment?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many factors with the multi-trade that it's hard to sort of collect my thoughts on it, to be honest with you. Yeah, but certainly in something else that I'm looking at, it's going to be very, very relevant to something I'm going to have to, or we are, embrace one way or another, because yeah, it's certainly. But it's interesting. Well, I can't remember who said it, whether it was Renato that said it, or another, or Raymond. I can't remember. That the ChatGTP, as an example, is actually constantly learning and collating information from all of us guys, from everybody, which is at a scary speed. Yeah, and you wonder whether ChatGTP was actually here before, if I can explain that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was AI here before, and it's suggested, and therefore, I just think it's I think it's quite deep. How it's yeah, how mind blowing, really. How the speed at which all this AI is coming in. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of interest, Renata, you might have, I don't know. Have you used the Chinese equivalent, the DeepSeek version?
Yes, I have, because it was worrying comparing the answers to ChatGTP and finding that it had indeed harvested some of the learning that the others had gone through to shorten its learning journey, which the Americans are not very happy about, of course.
Yeah, it's interesting, because one of the interesting models with the Chinese derivatives is that I mean, I don't believe half the stories they've said, because the Chinese have said they've developed it for something like £13 million or something. Whereas, of course, the ChatGTP has cost, I think, well over $500 million. Sorry, more than that. I think it's 300 or 400 billion to actually develop, isn't it? Or certainly throughout the whole sector, it's a massive amount, whatever it is. But the interesting with the DeepSeek version is you can actually, if you get like the slimmed down version, it goes down to 300 megabytes. And it's actually possible to install it on your own machine. And because it's got an element of self-learning in there, it is able to operate relatively independently. But of course, you only really get the privacy benefits of that if you sort of isolate it so that that machine can't then access the internet, or you created some walled garden effect with it. But it is quite interesting that somehow they've been able to create a derivative of DeepSeek, which you can run at a local level on your, what is an ordinary PC, and still get fairly reasonable speeds out of it. So I've not tried it yet, actually. So I was really interested. When I get a chance, I must give it a little bit of a go and see, see how intelligent it actually is. But yeah. Okay, I don't know whether we've thrashed this topic to death, or whether there's anyone else who would like to post some questions or make any comments about it.
I think the one thing I'd add, Rupert, is, again, bear in mind that for the last 6 months, US old government and others have pointed out that AI takes the information and creates what appears to be value. But if hostile nations, as a phrase that they use, poison that source data, the learning that's created from it, people still believe. So you've got to be really, really careful yourself validating what comes out of it, because there's a new young generation that trust it far more than hopefully we do.
Yeah. I think you've got the same problem on doing some Google search there, haven't you, another search? Because if people do want to create websites full of malicious content, and the Google algorithms, all of that.
I'm not sure it's the same. I'm not sure it's the same. I think there is a fundamental, there's something fundamentally where people believe things like ChatGPT. And I think the question for me is, with our children and with the younger generation, the school of hard knocks still applies, right? Lessons learned will teach you so much more than plugging a question into an AI bot. The thing for me is, how do we encourage it? How do we teach the younger generation to actually do the work rather than take the shortcut? Because life will always make you do the work, even though the technology may well assist in the speed of. I think a really good example of this, and I didn't realise David is in the motor industry. Given I used to be the finance director of Kia Cars many years ago, David. And what we've seen with the Chinese is not unusual, right? Japan took 40 years to develop company car developed two really good car brands. The Koreans went, well, we're not going to take that bloody long. We're going to put Kia and Hyundai together, and we're going to make one really super business, and we're going to do that. The Chinese went, well, we'll just go buy Volvo, won't we? Because that way we buy all the best technology the West has got to offer. So the fact that they can do this cheaper and quicker, depending on the quality, is not a surprise. But the thing is, life, the wheel of life, it still turns, and the things that you need to learn still turn. It may be the wheel turns quicker. And so AI is great in that regards, but the lessons that life throws at you, you still need to learn, and you can't hide behind well, ChatGPT told me so.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true, because actually people can start, and I think it was something on the press today about it, actually, people actually start to feel, especially perhaps more learning people, start to feel almost got a relationship with the person they're, the inanimate object they're communicating with. So it's quite an interesting thing. So Eric, welcome. As a matter of interest, it's not really that bright out where you are, is it, at the moment? I know you're in Scotland, aren't you? But I know it gets dark about half an hour, but it can't be. Why is it so bright there? Are you indoors?
It's been raining and snowing today, so I thought I'd brighten things up with a different background.
Oh, God. I know. Yeah, of course, it's 20 to 8, so there's no way it'd be still light in Scotland, even though you do get an extra half an hour, 40 minutes on us in the summer.
So but, that's nothing compared to the brightness that's inside my heart. I've just been to the hospital today and had a cystoscopy. For those of you who don't know, a year ago, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer. And the cystoscopy showed that the treatment I've been receiving has worked, and I am now completely cancer-free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah!
Yes.
Oh, congratulations.
Well done, Eric. Oh,
Brilliant.
that's amazing.
Well done.
The downside is, though, I have to do 3 years of treatment. I have to continue my treatment.
Right.
But that's a small price to pay for such fantastic news. So
Wow.
I'm kind of
Good to share that.
bulletproof
Well
at the
done.
moment. I'm feeling really on top of the world.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Good. Good for you.
Yeah.
You're
Welcome.
looking well, Eric.
Yeah,
Good news.
That's Eric. And that's actually almost a brilliant point to end on. I think. I know you just joined, Eric. But, we've already been going for about 40 minutes.
Close the show.
But,
I'm an angel investor, and I go to a different meeting that starts at 7 o'clock for my fellow investors. So that's why I'm never here on time. I apologize, but I try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, no, that's all right, Eric. That's pulling your leg. It's nice of you to join us. Basically, we just tonight just been sort of focusing a little bit on each other's businesses and any particular achievements that have been come about really over the last 7 days. And actually, what's really been positive is most people had one big thing happen to them this week, which they've been able to share, which is really positive. And we're talking a little bit about ChatGTP, and also we were having a little bit of a reflection on what you and Valerie debated on last week, Eric, which led to a complete rebranding of the ideas I came up with. So thank you to you both for coming up with those insights. So, okay, well, I mean, in reality, we probably have covered most things I've planned to cover tonight. Is there anything that anyone particularly would like to raise? Or finish up on?
And I was doing that very good practice, Rupert, of showing a raised hand, which you didn't spot.
I didn't. Oh, I did see somebody come up there. I thought it was you. I wanted to come back in on another screen or something.
I know.
So
okay. So I'm just going to add, Rupert, to what you said about some people seem to be forming a relationship with the AI. And from the medical side I'm dealing with as well, I think this is a little worrying that for the elderly and lonely, a lot of time and effort is being put into that sort of companion device so they can chat to AI and feel less lonely and have that sort of artificial companion.
Yeah,
because family don't seem to be around, don't seem to have time for them.
No, it's those are good one. Raymond, is there something you want to come back on there, or something you want to add?
No, I totally. I think you just got to be really careful. I think you got to teach people the impact that it have on their lives, how they engage with it, positive, and how to look after themselves in that framework.
Yeah. The other thing is, James, how about you? Anything you want to come up with?
No, not really, but I think you've already said it for this. It reminds me of the Wallace and Gromit at Christmas time, where the trolls were pre-programmed to be obnoxious, and there were different settings you could apply to them. And really, that's the real worry, isn't it? It's good when it works, but what could you maliciously do with it? Yeah.
I suppose the risk of that particularly comes further down the line, doesn't it, as we start to trust it more and more as well. So something which at a personal level, which I did use it for about 3 or 4 months ago. I think some of you may know I had a bit of a serious health scare myself about a year ago, and I'm a bit like a walking dispenser at the moment. I have to take about 5 lots of meds, which you know, thank goodness, it's obviously it's a thing that helps to keep you well, which is great. But there was a slight personal thing, but I was getting some slight side effects a few months ago, and I was really obviously I watched some of the medical conditions there, and then also the actual medication I was on, each medication. And I was asking ChatGTP, were there any known interactions between any of those drugs and any side effects? And actually, it was really interesting because I was actually testing quite deeply to see how well it would actually handle some quite complex problems. And I thought, crikey, if it's able to work a lot of this out, you know, you can see how something like this, if used the right way, and probably in obviously a data secure version, how it could be a great aid to GPs as well. Ultimately, and
I made exactly the same point, Rupert, to the GP practices that I work with, that they don't need to resist it, they need to embrace it, and they'll be far more effective. Because years ago, I'd work with American medical groups that every year would have a state-of-the-art lecture from somewhere in the world I'd do the television link for to keep them up to date. And the comment in England was, you may well have a doctor that qualifies 10, 20 or more years ago. He's out of date. He's not being kept up to date. But AI helped that doctor to have that pool of knowledge and understanding that could take your symptoms and tell him what he's got to look out for and which way to develop your investigation.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Thanks for that. Eric, I can see you got your hand up. I know what the hand up looks like now. There's a little symbol on my screen, which I didn't know what it was. So, Eric, have you still got a question?
Sorry, Renato. He only recognizes it when I put the hand up.
I was the warm-up, Eric, and he got it right for you.
Yeah, you did a warm-up back. Thank you for warming the crowd up. Or for warming the group up.
In Google Meet now, which I didn't know
Okay,
before.
so I've got a question for the group. Okay, it sounds like you guys have experience in ChatGPT. I have some limited experience. About 12, 13 years ago, I went on a course called KPI, not Key Performance Indicator, but Key Person Influence. Daniel Priestley is a friend of mine, and he basically, I did the first version of his course, and we had Mindy Gibbons Klein was doing the book writing section. He reckons if you're going to be a key person of influence, you need to have a book. So I started writing a personal development book, pooling all my knowledge of coaching, neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, all this stuff together. And the book morphed very quickly within 48 hours into a novel. I've written the first draft of the novel. Now, I've been told that if I put the novel into ChatGPT, it will edit it for me. It will add a bit of humor. It'll do all kinds of things. But I was told to pay for the paid version because it's that much more sophisticated. Kind of wish Renato was here for this because I'd like to have his opinion as well.
It is more sophisticated, definitely. Yeah.
It's more sophisticated, but also I'm worried because ChatGPT accesses everything else. Will my book then be accessed for other people to plagiarize and take away? I don't know if that is the case. Does anybody know factually? I don't want guesswork here. Is that the case?
Valerie, you put your hand up there. Is that,
I've heard the same. Sorry, Eric. I've heard the same discussion from a friend. I think it was in COVID. You know, she was writing something in a chat group and writing a book of her own. And the same question came up, whether or not it could be plagiarized. Because I work at a university part-time. I'm a researcher at UCLH. So it is an interesting issue around ChatGTP and the gatekeeping around it.
Do you know the answer?
I don't know for sure. Like I said, I just said I don't know for sure, but it was something that came up as a discussion point. And even at universities, it's an issue with research papers as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. I don't think anyone on this call knows for sure, but ironically enough, if there was a way you can take a slimmed down version and run it on your own PC, which is where you can ring fence in some way, that's probably a way of making it more secure. But I think there are ways you can use ChatGTP in a much more ring fence form. I just don't know how to do it. So it's a good question on that one. Interesting enough, there's been putting some video content out. You might have seen it, Eric. I don't know, but I've had a few private conversations with the person because it's a quite big statements being made about this version. It's not ChatGPT, but it's a derivative. And I've slightly challenged that person on it because one of the things that ChatGTP does do at the moment is if, for example, you ask it to create a picture of a famous person, and it has to resort to some image library to be able to get that information. ChatGTP a lot of the time actually won't produce the exact image for you, or even a slight variant of it, because the reason it says is that it's because of potential copyright infringement, or but there is also probably an element of censorship, probably used in a slightly looser term here as well, that takes place.
I wonder if I put a copyright sign on the end of my book and a trademark sign as well, if ChatGPT will recognize that and then respect that more. It's quite interesting to sort of like trick it, so to speak.
Yeah.
It sounds, Rupert, like you have some experience of the paid version. Is that correct?
Yeah, I use the paid version all the time.
And is there a big difference?
Yes, there is a big difference, because its learning is much more up to date. It's also a much more powerful algorithm of ChatGPT. It's 4.0, not 4.0. 4.0 is 4.0 is the latest version. But you've got also different versions of ChatGPT. So some are optimized for reducing images, for example, where others aren't. But I think actually, if you ask ChatGTP and ask the question, interrogate it, and say, look, I don't want this getting out in the public domain. What assurances could you give me? At the moment, it does seem to be telling the truth on most things, as far as I can tell. Whether that'll change if Elon Musk ends up buying ChatGTP or something else, I have no idea. But at the moment, was probably reasonably okay if you ask it some questions like that. But yeah.
All right.
Dave, sorry, is there anything you want to ask before we call it a wrap?
No, all good. Thank you. It's been very enjoyable.
Good. All right, good. Well, thank you very much. Anyway, this was obviously purely an impromptu session tonight. It wasn't planned at all. So thank you for everyone feeding back. And also thanks for the brutal feedback last week. It was really appreciated. So, all right. Okay, have a lovely week, and hopefully see you next week. So thank you very much. Yeah, take care all.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.